From Darth Vader's domineering suit to the classic blue lines of hyperspace, there are a lot of iconic parts about the galaxy far, far away. But the thing that really stands out and resonates is the lightsaber. Most Star Wars fans had some kind of lightsaber toy growing up and fought countless heroic battles to save their little galaxies from the clutches of an evil sibling. In-universe though, lightsabers were anything but a toy. They identified a Jedi, helped them connect to the Force, and kept them safe from the onslaughts of the Sith. In most Star Wars movies, the climax is defined by a lightsaber duel, and oftentimes the quality of that duel determines the movie's level of success. For example, Qui-Gon's duel with Darth Maul was one of the redeeming parts about The Phantom Menace, while Luke's fake fight with Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi is still a hang-up for some fans. In the same way, it was Luke's second fight with Darth Vader that defined Star Wars for a lot of fans. The thing is, most fans totally misinterpret that fight because Luke didn't really defeat Darth Vader. In fact, there were subtle signs that Luke was willing to become a Sith. That sounds pretty dramatic, so let's dive in and examine the duel. Lightsaber fights have developed a lot over the years. When A New Hope kicked things off, it was kind of slow. The mechanical Darth Vader squared off with the aging Obi-Wan Kenobi. Since then, Star Wars has given retroactive explanations for the pace of the duel, because by The Empire Strikes Back, things were already faster. Technology had progressed, and the duel between Vader and Luke was much more energetic. However, the pace of the duel wasn't the attention getter. The most important thing that happened was the reveal that Darth Vader was Luke's father. It was a franchise-defining moment for fans, but for Luke's character, it changed everything. His father was the evil Darth Vader, not the heroic Jedi that Obi-Wan had told him about. That meant Luke had to face his inner demons in Return of the Jedi. Would he become evil like his father, or would he maintain his Jedi path? That might sound like an easy question to answer now, but back in 1983, it was a perfectly valid question. When Return of the Jedi opened, Luke was wearing dark robes, and he used the Force to choke one of Jabba's Gamorrean guards. Those choices proved that Luke was capable of harnessing darkness, but it didn't take long to show that that darkness had not consumed him. Luke spent the entire movie trying to redeem Darth Vader, even when everyone else, including Obi-Wan, wanted him to fight and kill the Sith Lord. And that was Luke's purpose in life. Anakin Skywalker was always supposed to be the chosen one and bring balance to the Force, but he couldn't have done that without his son. Luke was the catalyst for Vader's redemption, and the Dark Lord would never have been redeemed if Luke hadn't seen the good inside of him. With that in mind, let's set the scene. The Rebel Alliance had their plan. Han Solo would lead a team to destroy the Death Star's shield generator while the fleet prepared to attack. While all of that was happening, Luke made his move. He allowed himself to be captured so that he could turn Darth Vader back to the light. But something unexpected happened. The last time that Luke saw his father, Vader wanted to team up against the Emperor, but that's not what happened in Return of the Jedi. Vader unapologetically said that he had to obey his master. So the Dark Lord took Luke to the Death Star, where they met the Emperor face to face. At that point, Luke had effectively failed his personal mission. Darth Vader had refused to turn back to the light, so Luke automatically initiated a failsafe. If there was no saving Vader, Luke had to save the galaxy from the Dark Lord. He knew that the rebels were going to blow up the Death Star, so he simply had to stall long enough that the Emperor and Darth Vader couldn't flee. That meant sacrificing his life in the blast, and Luke was more than willing to do so. After all, he was a Jedi, and if his dying would be for the greater good, it was the path that he had to take. Unfortunately, the rebels' plans ran into some hiccups, and that's when Palpatine started to play with Luke's head. The evil Sith made him think that the rebels might fail, and that meant Luke had to take things into his own hands. So he reclaimed his weapon and tried to kill the Emperor once and for all. That's when Vader ignited his own blood-red blade and blocked the strike. But it's important to understand why Vader did what he did. It looked like Vader was defending his master, but really, he was keeping Luke from killing the decrepit old figure, and there's a big difference between the two. Palpatine actually wanted Luke to kill him in anger, because that would have completed the young Jedi's fall to the dark side. The Sith would have won, and the Empire would have survived. So when Vader saved the Emperor, it was actually the little bit of Anakin in him that wanted to save Luke from walking a dark path. He wanted Palpatine dead more than anything, but his son's future was more important. When Vader drew his blade, Luke naturally fought back. In The Empire Strikes Back, he was still a novice, but in Return of the Jedi, Luke showed how much his skills had improved. But the whole duel had an odd vibe, because Luke still wanted to save his father and never really tried to kill him. He even disengaged a number of times and tried to convince the Dark Lord that redemption was still an option. So for a while, the duel turned into a bit of a stalemate. However, Luke wasn't the only one who refused to deal a killing blow. By this time in the story, Palpatine was ready to replace Vader with Luke as a new and improved apprentice. So it's probable that he gave Vader some special instructions. He didn't want Vader to kill Luke. He didn't even want Vader to beat Luke. The only thing that Palpatine wanted Vader to do was make Luke lose control of his emotions and bring him closer to the dark side. And that's exactly what happened. Vader had to obey his master, so he goaded Luke until he touched the dark side. That's why Palpatine congratulated Luke and said, "Good, your hate has made you powerful." Knowing those details certainly changed the perspective on Vader and Luke's Death Star duel. Most fans would argue that Luke won the confrontation because he nearly killed Vader before casting his lightsaber away. Yet that's technically not true. Luke wasn't really trying to kill Vader, and more importantly, Vader wasn't allowed to kill Luke. His only goal was to make Luke mad, and he definitely accomplished that task. Thus, Vader didn't technically lose. In fact, he did exactly what he set out to do. On the flip side, Luke was fighting for the whole galaxy. He wanted to save his father, and he wanted the Emperor dead. Yes, the Emperor made it clear that killing him would lead Luke straight into darkness, but Luke didn't care. Saving the galaxy was his purpose in life. He was even willing to accept the dark side, become a Sith, and kill Palpatine so that the evil Emperor wouldn't be able to flee the Death Star. Luckily, none of that had to happen, and Luke was able to regain his faith in the light. He wanted to kill the Emperor when his fight with Vader started, but he regained his composure. He could have become a Sith, but that wasn't his destiny. He was supposed to be a Jedi, just like his father, and everything worked out just like it was supposed to. The Emperor wound up dead, at least everyone thought he was, Vader was redeemed, and peace was restored in the galaxy. So who actually won the duel? The answer is both Vader and Luke, because neither one of them fell into darkness. They both regained their faith in the light at exactly the right time. But what do you think? Would Luke's improved skills have bested Vader? Or could the Dark Lord have dominated Luke if he was really trying? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.